everyone, welcome back. I hope that this video title isn't going to sound like one of those humble brags. Woohoo! I think my skin is so great. But I thought I've wanted to do this for ages about skin in your 30s, how it changes, and the things that you can do to just keep it in really nice condition and almost make it better than your skin was in your 20s. So I wanted to talk about the things that I feel that I've been doing in my 30s that have had a positive impact on my skin. I was trying to find pictures for that awful 10-year challenge thing on Instagram, which I hated. I didn't take part in the end. I loved looking at other people's pictures and changes, but do you know what? It really stressed me out comparing myself to 10 years ago. I thought, why am I doing this to myself? I'm 10 years older. Of course I'm going to look different. Of course my body's going to look different. You know, like I want to focus on the positive things that I've done, not changes, not obsess over changes to sort of my face and my body. I've had 2 kids. I'm 10 years older, for God's sake. Like, the whole thing, I thought it was fun on the one hand, and on the other hand, it had this sort of sinister, like, why are we always trying to look younger and younger and younger, you know? But one of the things that actually really surprised me was that although my face actually looks older, obviously, I mean, 2 of the main things I noticed was sort of, you just get a lack of plumpness, and in lips as well. Like, my lips are slightly thinner, there's less definition around the edges. One of my eyes just folds over completely my eyelids when I'm tired, so it looks like I'm half asleep. So I sort of have to do this before I film and before I take a photo, just to like raise things up a little bit. Where was I going with this? So yeah, although I look different and I look older, my skin, I noticed, is actually better now. It got me to thinking, like, the texture of my skin was better, the evenness of the tone was better, the general just, I don't know, like elasticity and hydration, like visible hydration of it just looked better. Which got me to thinking, like Carrie out of Sex and the City, what have I been doing in my 30s that is different to my 20s? And shall I make a video on it? So that is this video. And some of the things are so boring, and I apologise in advance because I'm not lecturing. It is just the truth. It is what I think are the major changes. And some of the things are maybe sort of more surprising or more skincare led. So there's a bit of lifestyle in there, a lot of lifestyle, and a bit of skincare. And I thought I'd just go through it as a bit of a fun, sort of non-product led video. On that note, I will link to various like posts and categories on my website so that you can get a bit of further information if you want. I haven't done a skincare routine video in a while, so I need to update that, but I will link to the most recent one that I've done, which I think was a good few months ago now. And the other thing I want to say is people ask me this on almost every skincare video, so I thought I'd do it here to get it out of the way. I've never had any work done. I've not got fillers. I've never had Botox, any kind of injectables, facelifts, like sort of hardcore peels, light things, lasers. The only thing I've ever had done on my face is to have, like, I had this weird clear mole thing on my nose, and if you've been following me since the very start, you'll probably remember it. I'll try and find a photo where it's in there. And it was just sort of getting bigger. It wasn't cancerous or precancerous, but it was getting bigger and it was annoying, and it always sort of looked like a spot, but it didn't have a head. So I had that removed with this like hot wire thing that zaps the centre and then it just falls off. Like, I have no problem with other people having stuff done. I'm not even saying I'm ruling it out for the future. Although I am incredibly scared of any kind of medical procedure, anything involving needles or risk of things going wrong. So I can't say that it's likely. And also, I just can't be asked. I can barely be asked to go and get my gel nails sort of taken off and redone. So yeah, 38 now. I was looking at photos of when I was 28. What has changed? First of all, 2 massive, massive lifestyle changes. I get a lot less sleep now, so you'd think that I would look a lot more shit, and that my skin would look really knackered and dull. But I don't smoke now. I haven't smoked for 10 years, I think. Maybe just slightly over 10 years. I used to be quite a heavy smoker, actually, from just like most of my modelling days. So from 20 to 28, I was probably smoking 10 to 20 cigarettes a day. I mean, I'm saying that to be kind to myself. For a lot of that time, it would have been 20. For people that are sort of growing up now and it seems really weird to them, bear in mind, you could smoke in restaurants, you could smoke in pubs, you could smoke on the train. There was like a smoking carriage. And people just smoked everywhere. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, it was just normal, you know, people smoked. And it wasn't until I was sort of in my mid to late 20s that they started banning it in pubs and it became a lot less socially acceptable. And that made it a lot easier to give up. I remember in my teens, I was like, this is disgusting. It stinks. I feel sick. I had a whitey pretty much every time I had a cigarette and had to like have a little lie down. And it took me years to like really build myself up to the point where, you know, I was smoking a lot. It sounds so ridiculous now, doesn't it? These are the kind of things I feel like my kids will never know about because smoking will just be a thing that nobody does, hopefully. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to do when you think about it. There's no benefit to it whatsoever. So anyway, I knocked that on the head when I started trying for a baby as well. So lots of things happened at once. I started winding down on the modelling. I wanted to start trying for a baby and it was just time. I was just smoking too much. And also a makeup artist had said to me on a job, your skin is so fine, you will wake up one day and it will just look awful. You'll just be covered in fine lines and it will just be all crepey. And I was like, not the threat of like serious illness, wrinkles. That's what did it for me. Good old 20s. And vanity. And so, yeah, I just stopped. I did the Alan Carr, there's a book and it's called The Easy Way. Just sat and read it and it took me 3 times of reading it and trying to give up. On the 3rd time, I did it and I haven't smoked since. So, God, that turned into a very, very long ramble about smoking. If you're thinking about smoking, just don't do it. And if you smoke now, you can stop. Honestly, because I could never, when I was a smoker, I couldn't imagine not being a smoker. It was like I timed my day by my cigarette breaks and it was almost like part of my person. And now I just can't imagine, I don't even like standing next to someone that's been smoking. It's just not in my zone. I can't imagine it. So it can be done. Okay, and the other thing, preachy, is that I don't really drink very much anymore. I have the odd night where I'll have sort of like 2 or 3 glasses. I'll feel really rough the next day. In the last 4 years, I've had 2 times when I've really got very drunk at 2 parties, mainly because I'm now a lightweight. And I've just felt so terrible for 2 whole days afterwards that I sort of curbed it. After that I was like, no, just can't do it with 2 young kids next day. So I was pregnant with Angelica, then I was breastfeeding, and then when I got to 11 months I got pregnant again with Ted, and then I was pregnant with Ted, and then I was breastfeeding, and then I've just had like 2 tiny people to get up with. So those are the 2 major lifestyle changes. Not drinking, not smoking. I know these are going to sound so obvious. One thing that I will say that's like the opposite to what everyone preaches is that I hardly drink any water. I've always been really terrible at drinking water. In the summer, I'm better, but in the winter, I'll have a few herbal teas, and then some days I'll realise I've drunk no water at all, or 1 glass of water, and then I get to the night and I really freak out and I'm like, oh, then you don't want to drink too much water because you don't want to have a wee in the night. So on a lot of days, I feel like I don't drink enough water. But I feel like maybe the lifestyle changes that I have made balance out the lack of sleep and the lack of water. Who knows? Perhaps it is the skincare changes that I've made, which we're going to get onto now. So the skincare changes. There are 3 main ones, I think, or sort of 4, but one of them's tied together. So the first one is that I no longer, probably because of what I do for a living, I no longer choose products by sort of brand or packaging or how they're marketed to me. I'm a lot more savvy. I research stuff and I test a lot of stuff, and I'm really into it. And I do think that that has had a massive impact on how my skin sort of looks and feels, because everything that I try and use has some kind of function or target or purpose. Also, I'm talking about specific ingredients. The things that have most changed my skin, and I did this in another video as well, which was something like the 5 products that changed my skin, so sort of repeating that, but finding out about alpha hydroxy acids, so the things like glycolic acid and lactic acid that exfoliate the skin and make it look brighter and just sort of help with cell turnover and making your skin just look more youthful and fresh and great. Massive discovery for me. Then salicylic acid, so a much more gentle, that's a beta hydroxy acid, much more sort of gentle acid, but one that it's not gentle, more gentle, but it works in a different way. So it's oil soluble, so it can get into your pores, and it's great if you suffer with spots and acne breakouts and things like that. And that has been amazing in sort of PMT week at keeping breakouts at bay and just keeping everything really clear. Vitamin C, great discovery, wasn't using that before, that's amazing for brightness. Hyaluronic acid, that one you cannot go wrong with. That's your hydration one, so grabbing onto moisture, keeping hold of it. Doesn't have any side effects, you can use it underneath anything, it's just brilliant. But possibly the biggest one, I think, for my 30s, and quite honestly, a lot of people are saying, like you can use retinol from as early as your teens, but I never used it before my mid-30s because I just thought it was overkill. I just think if you start using everything from 15, how can you step up from that? Where have you got to go? So I didn't ever use retinol before sort of mid to late 30s, and I have to say it's incredible. All the skincare ingredients and things that I've tried, it has just had the most dramatic effect on my skin. So to the point where I'm doing that to exaggerate them so you can see where I mean. But if we were really close up, you'd be able to sort of see them. But I've got these fine lines here where a lot of people have them. And they were starting to get quite furrowed actually. But since I've been testing out about a zillion different types of retinol and different retinol products, they've really, really decreased in depth. The fine lines at the corners of my eyes pretty much eradicated. Little fine lines that were creeping in, they're just not there anymore, really. My skin just feels very smooth. I'm going to cut in some footage of my skin with just no makeup on. I've got foundation on today, so I want to just give you a true look at what my skin looks like underneath that. Try it if you want before you reach your mid to late 30s. I suppose it depends what your skin's like. It probably would have been ideal for me in my 20s when I was absolutely caning it and living on Diet Coke and cigarettes and travelling around the world in an aeroplane. Maybe it would have been really good for me then actually, but luckily I stopped that, and then my lifestyle's been a lot different since then. But then age sort of kicks in and you start seeing these little signs of aging and you're like, oh, okay, wow. I have to say, I have been impressed by the results. I've been trying a lot of different things, but I've been giving them each a good amount of time, and I will start writing those up. So what have we got? We've got not smoking, not drinking, lifestyle changes. And then we've got not choosing products because of the brand name or the marketing surrounding it, but actually being discerning and looking at what they actually do because of the ingredients. And then we've got the ingredients like AHAs, salicylic acid, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, retinol, and then cleansing properly to make sure that your products can work. And SPF, forgot about that one. I used to go in the sun a lot. I always used to use sunscreen, but I mean, like, I would go to Greece, baste, fry, baste, fry, turn, baste, fry. Now, if I was ever lucky enough to go on holiday and be able to lie on a sun lounger for more than 4 minutes, I would have on a huge hat, sunglasses, wouldn't really put my face in the sun, because you can fake, you know, I would just fake tan my face. I quite like lying out in the sun with my body, but sensibly, with repeated applications of SPF. But I do like to get that, you know, hit of vitamin D. Thanks for watching. I'll stick all of the links below. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, give this a like, share it with some friends if you fancy doing that. And I shall see you next time.